Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, CBS Sports Ion College Basketball Podcast. He's my friend, Matt Norlander. I like to position Matt Norlander as the basketball Illuminati, the tastemaker when it comes to how we talk about these things. And Matt, A, what up, man? B, why do we got to be dogging the ACC all the time, man? Why you got to be tweeting out about how they're Ken Palm 7, dude? What's going on, man?
Facts don't care about your feelings, Ovius. I mean, what do you want? What do you want? And by the way, when this happened, a couple things on this as we get rolling.
Yeah.
When this happened, it had dropped. This was a week and a half ago when the ACC dropped below the Mountain West in Ken Palm's conference ratings. It's not just Ken Palm, by the way. Pretty much every predictive metric.
Oh, sure. Right.
So it had just happened. It has gotten worse since. Like the Mountain West's, from a data standpoint, performance as a league collectively is now comfortable. How about this? I'm looking at it right now. The Mountain West lead over the ACC is greater than the ACC's lead over the American right now. And the Mountain West right now is just about even with its distance of fifth place Pac-12 as the distance between the Mountain West and the ACC. So when all this happened, I knew this was the case, but you really know this is the case. Man, I got some SEC football pride in my mentions from the ACC fans trying to make excuses over this. Two things can be true at once. You can have a super, super down year and a deflating year, and you can also have teams that are capable of going to the NCAA tournament because, as you well know, there was a lot of, but wait a second. Let's go back and look at the past decade of NCAA tournament performance. From the ACC, I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just giving you empirical data about every single team. Every team counts. Miami and Virginia count just as much as Boston College, Florida State, and Louisville count. Yeah. It all goes into one pot, and right now the ACC is firmly seventh best. And from that standpoint, it is headed toward one of its worst seasons, if not its worst season, in the metrics new age data era.
I would argue, though, that Matt Norlander, CBS Sports, joining us here on the OG CBS Sports Ion College Basketball Podcast. Highly recommend.
Thank you.
Here's the thing. I can't disagree with the numbers. I can't. But sometimes I do feel that we get a little too caught up in the numbers, and that comes at the expense of entertainment. I would argue that regardless of how you feel about the ACC and where they might rank in Ken Palm and what their overall net numbers are, although don't get me started on net, because people still don't even know
as you say this, sorry to interject, I will literally tell you that you asked me to come on the show, and within 10 minutes of that happening, there was an assistant in the ACC that literally texted me, and I have not returned the call. Can you explain the net? 3 question marks. Hope all is well your way.
We talked to Steve Forbes of Wake Forest earlier this week. I felt like we got him warmed up. Gilio and I got him warmed up this week because he went on a net rant last night at PNC Arena.
He's done that as well. Don't even get the coach. My question is not Forbes, and trust me, I've also had this question with Forbes. Continue.
So my point is, Luke DeCock, a columnist for the News and Observer, and I had this conversation ahead of the NC State Duke game at PNC Arena months ago. That, man, this ACC season is just kind of like, it hasn't really gotten going. It's kind of miserable. It's whatever. But from that point on, I would argue that the ACC season, in terms of storylines, in terms of the you got me at your place, we're going to get you at our place, it's actually been a pretty entertaining ACC season. Maybe it's because we're in the middle of it, because NC State is good and they're a hell of a lot of fun for a variety of reasons, and that I'm bullish on Duke. And North Carolina's got its issues, which we can get into in a second. It's been an entertaining ACC season, regardless of the numbers. I don't know if you pick up on that on the national level.
I think there's something to that. Yeah. I think that the actual value of entertainment for a lot of ACC now, or value of entertainment to watch the league, or the discussion points that come out of it are 2 in 1, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got Duke losing the way that it did against Virginia. Don't look back in anger. Look what Duke's done since, right? It's been good. It has not lost since as we record this, and it's heading toward probably a good season. Duke is a team that's capable. At the top of the league, Virginia losing at Boston College, notwithstanding.
Yeah, well.
You've got, listen, objectively, in my opinion, Miami, Virginia, Duke.
Okay.
Are your pragmatic second weekend NCAA tournament capable teams.
Not NC State.
I need to see a little bit more. They are getting there. NC State is handling success relatively well.
Okay.
I'm even good with State splitting the final two. Home against a desperate Clemson team.
Yeah.
At Duke.
Yeah.
More than okay splitting that. I'm even okay with State making, say, the ACC semis, and State doesn't need to prove anything to me. State is going to the tournament. Keats has done a good job, and it has, on a national level, blended into the environment. While I know it's been obviously a very hot topic in your area, rightfully so. You are a homer. I get all of that. State is just it is a house, and I kid. It is a house money situation from a national perspective. Keats had some pressure on his job. I would not put that team into the same pot, me personally, just yet.
Okay.
You win at Duke, I would change my mind. I would change. I got to see that. Then I would change my mind.
All right. Gotcha. Matt Norlander, CBS Sports, Ion College Basketball Podcast, joining us here on the OG. He's on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. All right. The other thing, too, about the state of the ACC and the discourse around it. I understand coaches are not happy with the way that the ACC is being discussed. And while I'm not exactly a fan of Jim Boeheim, Syracuse head coach, and how he's gone about things this year, I do agree with what he stated at the beginning of the season when he talked about the NCAA tournament. And it is about what we value. I mean, do we value a regular season that is probably too long, that probably needs to be rethought of, versus the NCAA tournament, which is where all the eggs are in the basket? Your employer, puts all the emphasis on what the tournament's going to be, who's in, who's out, and obviously who ends up winning the thing.
I would push back. I feel that CBS does a good job at presenting context of college basketball in the regular season, and that another company puts way too much. I'm not saying that we don't value the tournament. We do. It's a massive behemoth. But
you pay a bunch of money for it. But yes,
correct.
I get what you're saying.
And it's a huge event, but I think we actually do a pretty good job at balancing coverage in the moment, week by week, as the season goes along.
I see. I know. I'm picking up.
Would you agree with that? I think that's objectively true.
No, I think you know what, the way
breaking into games to talk about bubble teams for an entire segment on those broadcasts. So
I am. You know what? You're right. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. However, I think we can agree that the NCAA tournament is the point, right? I mean, this is how you're judged in college basketball, and that's the one consistency that the ACC has had. We can sit here and beat our chest about our regular season success like the Big Ten might, but look at the Big Ten in the NCAA tournament. So what do you value? And from your perspective, what is it that, if we're judging conference strength, what are you going to base it on? When it matters the most in March, or what happens in some early non-conference games where transfers, freshmen really make it difficult to assess just how good you might be in November and December?
Some might say that, yes, when you look at the entirety of a season and you have all of the data points, right, the huge sample size, that's what it is. And you know what? Yeah, there's some nuance to what you are on November 23rd when you're playing in maybe a premier multi-team event, MTE for short,
to
use college basketball lingo. But the games count, and they should count the same, by the way. A game then should count just as much as NC State playing at Duke to wrap up the regular season when it comes to evaluating a resume. But I've said this often. I've written it before. I'm mostly good with the social contract that college basketball has with its media, its fans, the sport overall, and that NCAA tournament is the best event in sports as far as I'm concerned. And I say that as someone who loves many, many sports, but there's nothing like the tournament. And there's going to be the trade-off is that you have this thing that becomes part of the culture for 3 weeks. I would actually argue it becomes part of the culture for a month. It absolutely is a part of the culture for even longer than that in your specific area. But the trade, and I'm not talking sports culture. I'm talking literally pop culture. Okay.
Yeah.
The tournament it is a part of the fabric, but because it is such a massive event, and these results can sometimes be randomized, it will draw people to have certain talking points and react to one certain game, to what you did or you did not do. And would that be more reflective of a conference's strength if we look up and we see if Virginia, let's toss them in, NC State.
Sure.
I'll NC State. Hello. Yeah. You're going to Louisville for the regional semis, Sweet 16. You're there. So let's say Virginia, Miami, NC State. That's your three. Three ACC teams make the Sweet 16. Will there be some crowing, some peacocking? There absolutely will be.
I don't know, though. The reason why I say I don't know is because it's not the right teams. right? I mean, we see this with football in the ACC, and we're going to be doing this with basketball as well. Duke and Carolina are the things that ultimately are the bellwether for the ACC. And I guess we can close the conversation on this. Matt Norlander, CBS Sports, joining us, Ion College Basketball Podcast. This is not me saying I told you so when it comes to North Carolina. It's simply saying that the nature of college basketball is so different now that we cannot treat what we've seen in the past historically as though it's the same thing today, right? And with North Carolina, there is a 3-year sample size now with this core group that has crossed over between Roy Williams' last season as the head coach and now 2 seasons for Hubert Davis. And all of 2021 was a bit of an up and down year for Roy Williams, and a good reason why he said, I'm out of here, man. Like, I'm done. Like, this new era of college basketball, I just can't get with. And up until about February 16th, I think it was February 16th when they lost to Pitt at home, and their manhood was essentially questioned by one of their former players, Jason Capel, an assistant at Pitt, and Brady Manick coming on and getting hot. That was the outlier. And what we're seeing and what we have seen this year for the core group of Armando Bacot, RJ Davis, and Caleb Love is right back to what we saw all of in Roy Williams' last season, all up until Brady Manick got hot and everything kind of fell into place from there. And then now all of this season. Their offense is a mess. Defensively, they are inconsistent. And if I'm Hubert Davis, this is not a very this is not a very popular opinion, but I'm very much thinking that Hubert Davis is going, I'm ready for this era to end so that I can get my guys in and there's a clean slate at UNC, because that's what I think UNC needs. They're not having a turnaround. They're not going to just magically turn it back on again and get some bracket luck or use Duke as some sort of, honing device or some sort of water divining thing to find themselves at the end of the season. It's a wrap for UNC, and I think last night against Notre Dame is even more proof of that.
Yeah. Is the season sliding away to a certain extent? Yes. I think you could be onto something that like Hubert would never admit that publicly, nor should he.
Of course not. Of course not. He would never admit that.
On a certain level, might you be just ready for a regeneration, to use some Doctor Who terminology? I do think, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like
come on, you know I'm a nerd. Let's go.
Okay. No, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I was wrong about Carolina. I did buy into this being the understandable preseason number 1 team, but everyone was wrong about Carolina. Okay. Everyone. And I'm still right here, right now. Be here now. Okay.
You're all for those who are listening on the radio. Matt's got an Oasis shirt on today. This is Oasis reference number 3, I think. But go ahead.
Correct. I'm up to 5. I was not going to say anything, but yes.
Okay, I got you. All right. I've been catching them. I've been catching them.
Okay. So I do this on HQ occasionally, by the way. I'll put an album behind me and I'll slide in a lyric or I'll just, and I don't tell anyone. I just do it for the real ones that know. I am still going to buy.
What?
I'm still going to buy Carolina making the tournament. That's all. Home against Virginia, at Florida State, home against Duke in the ACC tournament. I'm going to buy that. I can't help myself. All right. I think this group is going to get into the tournament. I'm ready to be wrong again. Trust me. Okay. Really ready to be wrong.
All right.
But, and I will tell you this, because I was thinking about this, and I haven't really talked about it on the podcast, because I was watching them play. And it's Notre Dame, and hopefully they played previous to that. Mm-hmm. Carolina will be like the irresistible watch if ever there was one. Just get them in the bracket. In the bracket, doesn't matter the team.
Aren't you giving away the game, though? You're giving away the game, because if you strip that Carolina blue off, man, if you take the Argyle off and you make it NC State with the same situation, they ain't getting in. But you just gave away the game. That, hey, here's this team that went on a run last year. We haven't unseen it. We can't forget it. It's Carolina. Oh, my goodness. These are recognizable names. And and this is, again, gets back to facts don't care about your feelings, except when the feelings come in, and the feelings are coming through when it comes to North Carolina.
All I can say is UNC fans are going by one motto right now. I hope, I think, I know. Go ahead and check it out if you're unfamiliar. Be Here Now, disastrous 1997 album by Oasis. That's one of the songs on it.
Matt Norlander, CBS Sports, Ion College Basketball. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you later, man.
Thank you, Joe.